Agents, we've got to talk about the stretch goals coming out in 2 days on Tuesday, August 19th. I know at this point it's probably like hearing about your car's extended warranty, but the amount of exclusive items you can get is too important to ignore. We have no idea when Turmoil and Lexington will return again. Raid exclusives like the Eagle Bearer are also available. Plus, there are other rewards as well. We'll talk about what exactly this event is, what you can get from it, and how best to farm it. I'll talk about some things that you won't hear anywhere else, and of course, there'll be some math, so get psyched for that. Let's get stuck into it. Alright, so first things first, what is this event? This event adds Season Pass levels above 100, and each level gives you random, unique rewards and caches. You have to be at Season level 100 before you can access these higher levels, so make sure you get to Season Pass level 100 before the event starts. But why run this event? It's a way to get exclusive items, some of which have no other way to receive them. This includes the Lexington AR, which is currently pretty much the best AR in the game, and the Turmoil knee pads. If you want the most in-depth explanation of how Turmoil works on YouTube, see the card. It seems straightforward, but there are some bugs that make it do extra damage, so it's not quite as simple as it looks. If you missed these the first time, this is the only other way to get them. And the devs just confirmed that both of these items will be maxed out just like they were when they were first released. There's also the Caretaker G36 AR, which is an okay item, but again, it was only available during a short event that isn't running anymore. So these items are definitely worth farming this event for at least a little bit to try and get these items. The drop chances were just released, so let's talk about that for a second. There's a 10% chance that you'll get one of these, and from there, there's an additional probability determining which one you'll get. So you have to get the initial 10% roll for one to drop, and then once that gate is cleared, it rolls again to see which one you get. You're going to end up with way more Lexingtons than you are of the other named items, but I wish there were more Turmoils in it as well. The rate for Lexington overall is 3% and 0.5% for the Turmoil and other named items. There are also exclusive cosmetics that have a high drop chance, so those are another reason. They're not my cup of tea, but if you like them, go for it. They weren't too hard to get during the last stretch goals event, and it looks like they have a 50% drop chance now. Not bad. One thing I want to clear up that I've been seeing all over the place. The exclusive cosmetics do not come from the same loot pool as the other items, so they aren't competing for the same slots. Unlocking all the cosmetics does not increase your chances of getting anything else. The other gear and weapon items I can drop include the Regulus, Eagle Bearer, Ravenous, Bighorn, Ouroboros, Provocator, and Birdie's Quick Fix backpack. These items are exclusive to the raids, or legendaries, or master missions. The Regulus is the most powerful, probably the best weapon in the entire game. Again, the drop rate is super low, so it's possible that even if you grind your heart out, it'll never drop for you. During the last event, I grinded 52 levels before I got an Eagle Bearer, and there were many who didn't even get that. There are much higher chances of getting these items from the activities that they come from. Current drop rate of the exclusive exotics from this event is 0.5% for one to drop, and it might be one that you already have. If you have your eyes on a specific one, that chance goes down to a 0.07% chance. You heard that right. A 0.07% chance overall that a given cache is going to give you the specific exotic that you want. That is very low. Even though it seems intimidating, even though it might take a while, please, 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 if you really need these items, do the activities that they come from. Don't count on farming this event. There are discords where you can group up and complete these activities. You'll meet some great people, maybe even make some friends, and actually get to discover these very unique, fun, and challenging experiences. Don't grind yourself to the bone on this event to get those items. Do the activities they were intended to come from, and you're guaranteed to have a much better time. Alright, back to the other things I can cover in this event. There are some other exotics in there just to dilute the loot pool, and I guess to help new players, but these aren't too much to write home about. There are also some seasonal items that are available periodically from the loot goblin, and these aren't really game changers. Again, they're just diluting the loot pool. Alright, let's dive into the best ways to farm this event. This is where things get really interesting, and in a little bit we'll get into the math. Anytime I talk about XP from here on out, I'm referring to seasonal XP. For this event, you should be focusing strictly on seasonal XP, not loot, not normal XP, not credits. This event only lasts a short time, and the way that you get the items is through seasonal XP. You'll want to do that before it's gone. We get seasonal XP from a couple of sources. The seasonal journey, anytime we do an activity, especially invaded missions, manhunt objectives, projects, and priority objectives. Manhunt objectives are huge. Some of these you can do simultaneously with priority objectives, so focus on priority objectives and you might find a priority objective that lines up with one of these and can knock them out at the same time. Priority objectives are unlimited, so just keep rolling those, keep going through those, and you'll have ones that align with your manhunt objectives. Save your other manhunt objectives like bounties for when you run out of priority objective rerolls or on your last play session for the event. They are probably the most efficient source of seasonal XP, especially the short ones like bounties, but they run out, whereas priority objectives are infinite. In a similar vein, projects also give a ton of seasonal XP and are based around activities. At least make sure that you do the SHE requisition project. The other big ones are going to be the daily projects, which you should make sure you complete before signing off for the day, and the weekly project, which you should be working towards the whole week. For your last play session for that week, make sure you complete this one as well. Basically, your last play session for the week should be completing your projects and your manhunt objectives. But let's address the problems with priority objectives. We can't see what the specific activity is until we decrypt it. We got some tricks, however, that can help us decipher which objective is which before we actually do the decrypting and getting locked into that activity. We can tell somewhat by how much seasonal XP we will get from that activity, which is listed before it's decrypted. Each activity gives a different seasonal XP, except for a couple that are the same. So we can look at that seasonal XP and cross-reference it with this table from Reddit and see which one it is. Then we can make a rough calculation on which one is going to be the fastest. The funny thing is that because I'm level 100 and the stretch goals aren't active yet, none of these give me seasonal XP, so I can't actually see it right now. But it will show up for us when the event is active. Now looking at this Reddit post, it's 3 months old, so I'm not sure 100% how accurate it is. I will try to post a follow-up video to confirm when the stretch goals are active. Remember that enabling modifiers gives us 10% more seasonal XP, and also increasing or decreasing the difficulty also changes the seasonal XP gain. One other important thing to remember as well is that the activities themselves give some seasonal XP. So doing the priority objective and doing the activity essentially doubles your seasonal XP gains. Once again, I can't see these because I'm maxed out on the seasonal track and I won't be able to see them until the event is actually active. I wanted to get you this information before the event already starts so you can prepare. If you run into a bad activity and are out of rerolls, you can always just do activities and you'll get some seasonal XP. Alright, let's buckle down and get into the math. Here we have each activity and the general duration of each one with its seasonal XP here in the first couple of columns. In column G, we have the breakdown of relative XP percentage between activities, with DUA, District Union Arena, being the baseline that everything is compared to. In column H, we have the times it took me to complete each activity. These were some of my best times this season with this season's modifiers and my Dispatch Double Dipping Destroyer build. That build is much faster than your typical striker build, and I would argue even faster than most headhunter builds even with turmoil. This build uses the sacrifice and turmoil to max out on the double dipping potential of turmoil, and it goes super fast. The only thing that I think is faster is probably a Regulus build and some specific speed in the ring builds, but regardless, you might be faster or slower, but the relative difference between each one should be about the same. So the relative difference between my DUA and tidal basin times should be about the same relative difference between those for you. I'm still working on getting the speed data, so keep an eye out for a future video or Reddit post for a 100% complete breakdown. In column I, we have the raw XP per second that these activities can give us. Then finally, in column J, we have the efficiency, which is just the XP per second compared as a percentage to District Unit Arena, which is our baseline. No activity that I played had better XP per second than DUA. This gives us a better comparison so that we can really get a sense of how much more efficient we are being with our time. While Roosevelt is pretty much just as much XP per second as DUA, DCD headquarters, for example, is a big fall off, 37% less efficient. Again, I've only got a couple of activities on here and they're pretty randomly spread, but we can already see some pretty drastic differences. Strongholds on Heroic range from 7 minutes for DUA to 20 minutes for something like Manning or Tidal. Missions range from something like 6 minutes for Lincoln Memorial to 15 minutes for something like DARPA. Activities like Descent can take, 5 minutes, and Countdown can take 15. Open World can take 30 seconds or 5 minutes, depending on travel time and the actual open world activity. Or it can be impossible, like getting 2 elite patrols and 2 Warhound convoys. Like, why are these still priority objectives? I don't get it. Anyway, while I don't have specific times for all of these, we can see that they're giving us a pitiful 15% or 22% of the XP that District Unit Arena is. You're going to have to be able to do tons of these open world activities in very quick succession to get the same XP rate as DUA. Because you have to do them so quickly, every second counts. Even palling around in the menus, re-rolling priority objectives is going to slow you down significantly, since a much larger percentage of your time is spent in these menus. There's also not really an easy way to string these activities together either. You're going to be doing a lot of fast traveling. Finding 2 activities of the same type next to each other and close to a fast travel location is very rare. If you think you can do these quickly and efficiently, I would challenge you to actually time yourself and see, because I think you'll be surprised about how slowly it actually goes. But let's step through these and see what are some of the specific wins and losses. District Union Arena and Roosevelt are the 2 absolute best. They are very quick and easy. Roosevelt is a bit longer, but also gives about 19% more seasonal XP. I would definitely not go for any of the Pentagon, Coney Island, or Camp White Oak missions. Most of us are probably less experienced with these, and they just plain take longer without giving that much more XP. DARPA and Pentagon, as we can see, takes way longer, but only gives us 4% more XP. Pretty lame. Most of the other short missions also seem to be very efficient. Air and Space Museum, American History Museum, Jefferson Trade Center, and Viewpoint Museum are all pretty efficient. Countdown, while fantastic for proficiency and loot, is terrible for seasonal XP. Even if you're going super fast and manage to finish in 15 minutes, that's a little less than twice as long as it takes to finish DUA, not including sorting through all that gear afterwards. And what do you get as far as seasonal XP? A little over a third of the XP of DUA. That's about 5 times less efficient. The other quote-unquote activities also kind of suck unless you're able to do descent loops or summit floors extremely fast. Liberty Island and the Tombs are 2 that are also much longer and more annoying while not giving significantly more XP. Of course, stay away from the elite patrols, elite territory controls, and warhound convoys because these will basically never be able to be done since these can have the same values of seasonal XP as other open world activities. Open world activities just aren't worth it. If you really like doing open world more than anything else and you're pulling your hair out running missions continuously and there are a bunch of open world activities together, and you get 2 public executions or a control point decrypted, then maybe use these. Otherwise, these are a hard pass. They give a minuscule amount of XP, and with travel time, end up taking a couple minutes anyway. Speaking of the PvP options here, I am not a PvP player, but travel time in the DZ is excruciating, and other players can gank you and prevent you from completing your objective. Plus, most of them have the same amount of XP, so you can't tell which one it is, and it's not even very much XP. None of these are worth it, not even close. So basically, stick to strongholds and missions. Cross-reference the spreadsheet to try and pick high efficiency ones. One final note on this. While it might be tempting to run these activities on heroic to max out your XP gains, only do this if that's the difficulty you're comfortable on. If you usually farm on challenging, or doing heroic takes you a long time because you're constantly healing and popping armor kits or something like that, dial it back to whatever you're comfortable with. Heroic will give you more XP, but if you die and have to restart the activity, that is an incredible amount of lost time. Lost time that the extra XP will not be able to recover. So that wraps up our explanation of this event, its secrets, and how to farm it. As a reminder, if you enjoy the division and are missing some of these items, you really should farm this event at least somewhat. Don't take time off work and grind it like a second job. No piece of gear in a video game is worth burning out or sacrificing your relationships for. Keep everything in perspective and don't get addicted to the slot machine. Alright agents, that's all for this one. I hope you enjoyed learning with me. If you did, hit the like button. It really does help me out with the algorithm, which has been a cruel mistress lately, and it also helps guide my content to provide things that you really enjoy. Speaking of which, we have playlists here on the channel where you can find more content that really speaks to you. Subscribe so you don't miss future enlightening and interesting videos from yours truly. Thanks for tuning in, agents, and until next time, this has been Dispatch. Take care out there.